Right, hello everyone. I am here with Rent to Rent rockstar Mark Fitzgerald. Now, Mark has been an absolute superstar. He came on our coaching course in January, and ever since then, I just, when you just know that somebody is going to be successful because he's soaked up every bit of questions, always was there when we did the live coaching calls. Always totally on it, and it's just got a lovely, generous personality as well. He's always first in line to answer any questions from new people within the group and so on. So I'm really excited, delighted, thrilled, and lots of other things to introduce Mark Fitzgerald from MRF.
Hello there. Nice to be on. Thank you.
Yeah, Mark, we were just chatting earlier, and I can't believe that it's actually four properties that you're in the process of.
Yeah.
So before we sort of dive into the property side of things, Mark, just want to talk a bit about you. What were you doing before? And I know you've got a lovely family and so on, I've seen on Facebook.
Well, I've spent the last, easily 15 years in the corporate world and everything like that. I worked in a manufacturer for motorhomes and everything like that, and started at the bottom and worked my way to the top of there, became production manager. And it wasn't till realistically beginning of last year I had an injury on my ankle, and I was just I was laid up basically for about 3 months. I couldn't do anything, and my sister and myself were looking at buying a buy-to-let, just a vanilla buy-to-let, let it out as a potential pension sort of, something as a nest egg. And I was just sat on the couch and I Googled how to make money in property. And this whole world opened up to me. It was unbelievable. Yeah. And it was just, hang on a minute, I didn't even know purchase lease options, rent to rent, what's all of this?
Yeah.
I must admit, I started reading books. I haven't read books for years, but I spent a good 6 months last year just sort of getting to know the ins and outs of what you can do in property. And my dream has always been to build my own business. But I've never really been ever sure what that business was going to be. So I thought to myself, I think I could build a business in property. Looking at the way people are doing it and everything like that, and the way people are always looking for win-win situations as well, so you can actually give something back. I like the idea of. So for me, really, it all started when I injured myself. I sort of, as my sister says, I had an epiphany. And I've come out of my shell, because before that it was all corporate going. I was corporate. I was looking, trying to get promotions at work. And I look back now, and I'm actually, because I've missed a lot of my kids growing up as well, plays and sports days. I've always been at work. You probably had it yourself, didn't you?
Yeah.
And I just think to myself, I can start my own business. I can also have more time, so that at least I can give my kids and family the time that they need. I don't mind hard work. I've never shied away from that. Mm-hmm. So it's a bit of, that's where it all sort of came from last year.
Yeah. And how old are your kids, Mark?
13 and 7, going on 16.
Yeah. So great ages to be, be there at home more, and you could involve them in the business as well, which is really exciting for them and for you. So you sort of found out about this new world and read a lot of things, and then in January, the end of January, I think you got in touch maybe in December last year.
Well, it's a funny one. I think about August, September time last year, I became a member of one of your Facebook groups. I can't remember which one it was, HMO something. Mm-hmm. And I remember as a newbie, you always put whoever's new in the group, sort of to speak, that I don't know whether it was that week or month or whatever. And I just, put a caption at the bottom, happy to be here, hoping to invest in an HMO in the future and everything. And we had a bit of a discussion. You probably don't remember that. And I just thought that's really nice, because there's somebody who's got their own Facebook group, who's obviously, doing very well for themselves, is having a chat with a complete newbie who may or may not go on to do anything. But you actually, you spent 20 minutes just having a little conversation, and I resonated with that. And that is really why, when I actually saw that you were offering, so to speak, a training platform, that's why I wanted to get in touch. So I checked it today, actually. I messaged you about this just as a question on Christmas Day, and you replied, and I didn't think I was going to get a reply, and you replied on Boxing Day.
Yeah.
That's how good our Christmas was.
Yeah. Well, that's the Christmas. You're not doing very much, are you?
Well, no, that's it. That's it. I think I was fed up with eating.
Yeah, eating and drinking. No, so that was fab. And had you tried? Oh, I know that you downloaded the letters, the original letters that we put out there, and you had started sending them out. And you sent me a copy of your letter, didn't you?
Yeah.
And asked for some comments, and you were sending it out. And I loved that about you, because you just took the bit. You didn't obviously have the whole picture at that stage, but you took the bit that you understood. Okay, I can send these letters out. You got the list, and you got a bit of feedback, and then you sent it out, didn't you?
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I just think you've got to get out there, whether it's perfect or not. You need to get something out there and then work on it. So really, I did have a letter, and then obviously with your guidance and help and everything, I was able to tweak my letter and make it a polished article. Really, I'm quite proud of my letter.
I love your branding, the whole thing. But let's. I always want to go off at a tangent with you, because I want to know details about this and that. But I'm not going to branding just yet. So you've talked about. So you hadn't really done anything. You said the letter. Can I ask you what you were worried about? Because especially when you're making a pretty big investment. What were you worried about before going into the course?
Well, really, I mean, if I'm honest with you, I didn't think rent to rent would work. I didn't think purchase lease options or anything like that would work. When I was reading about it, I was one of these. I was a naysayer. Last year, I was a naysayer. I wouldn't have done training. I wouldn't have done anything, because I knew it all. If I didn't know it, I could get it off the internet, or I could read a book. But then I actually started to go out and network and talk to people who were doing it. And they all pretty much said the same thing. I know not everybody, but near enough everybody said, I learned from other people that are doing it. Yeah. And I learned how to do it and do it the right way. Yeah. So for me, I thought to myself, rent to rent, I'd love to build up my own sort of rent to rent lettings business, where I can offer a service that will be a greater service to tenants, and also a service to look after the properties of landlords, which is rent to rent, as we know. But I want to do it in such a way that it offers more. It offers more of a customer service to both parties, better peace of mind and everything like that. And that's very difficult as you're starting out to get that across, because obviously it's all just words. But now I've actually got the deals in place that I can put this into practice. And I want to give a good customer relation and feedback to tenants as well. And that's really what it's all about for me. It's about building a business that when I eventually start buying my own portfolio, when it comes to renting it out, I can just give that to my own business to rent out for me. And I know it's being looked after perfectly.
Yes, I absolutely, totally agree with you, Mark. I think that's the one area that many people who want to be hands-off fall down, because they give it to lettings agencies, and then you don't have as much control. They're not as interested in your business. And even if you've got a good one, things can go bad if they get wrong staff or what have you, and your properties can go downhill. Whereas when you've got your own team, your own business that's running it, like we have, you know what's happening, all the systems, you can oversee it yourself, and you've got control to change things that aren't working, much easier than if you've got a lettings business, if it's outsourced totally. Which is important with HMOs, not as important for single lets. But let's go on. So you were just concerned before you started that it didn't work. And then when you started now, because it's an online course, lots of people have never done an online course. I don't know what your expectations were. Tell me about that. What were your expectations, and how was it what you expected or not?
Well, I think the conversation, because obviously you do it like this sort of Zoom call first, don't you, to make sure that the people are right for the course, that, and everything. And I like that. So we had a chat, didn't we? I think I was sat in my car at the time, because I was on holiday, wasn't I?
Oh, yeah.
But I just resonate with you and Nicky and everything like that. And really it was the fact that it's a step-by-step guide. What you need is, in anything in life, is if somebody shows you the path and you follow the path and do as you're told, it's the old trust the process thing, then the outcome should be the same as theirs, as long as you follow what they've done, because what they've done works. Don't reinvent it. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, follow those steps. Don't go 1, 2, 3, 7, you know what I mean? Follow all the steps, which is what I've tried to do. So I just basically said to myself, whatever I'm asked to do, or within reason, I shall do, and I shall follow it step by step and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you're the perfect person to work with, Mark, because you know, you make us look good. Now, Sade Fasan has asked on the Facebook group, what were the step-by-step procedures that you took to get your first deal? Now, that's kind of a big question, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah.
You want to say anything to that?
How long have we got? How long have we got? I mean, it all starts with you at the end of the day. I mean, a lot of people want to get out of their jobs, want to just get themselves enough money to be able to leave work. Some people want to build a business. Some people want it as a lifestyle. The first step, you've got to look at what you want, where you want to be. And I think you've really got to look at the next 5 and 10 years and say, if I do this, where am I going to be in 5 years' time? Where am I going to be in 10 years' time? And that, for me, is the first stepping stone. It's the old, I hate to say it, it's the old why, but you need to have that why. I mean, for me, it is building a business and a legacy for my children and for my family. You know, I mean, my wife and my kids, my sister, my mother, my mother-in-law, everybody has been so supportive that I couldn't do what I've done now without them. And they as a general, my whole family and my close friends are my why. And I want to be able to give something back as well. So if I can get this into a really good position, you know, you don't know where it's going to go. I know where I want it to go and where I'm going to try and get it to go. But wherever it goes, these guys are on that journey with me. And I'm just making sure that I'm not going to let them down.
Yeah, oh God, they must be so proud of you because it's so quick, the speed that you've done it, and also the certainty that you've done it with, even though you sort of had a few niggling doubts, which we all do when we start.
Yeah. I mean, sorry, just to answer that lady's question, it's basically follow the process, but have a strong reason why, know why you're doing it, and then get yourself educated, really.
Yeah, and I would just say to Sade, just so you've got your top level of what to do to get your first deal. We do talk about the mindset. Mark and I were talking about that earlier. You've got to work on your mind so that you can start to believe that you can do it. It won't be an immediate thing, but it's just something consciously you've got to do as you go through, because the procedure is really simple. The reason why people don't do it is because of their own mind. So that's one thing. The next thing is you want to set up your business, but you want to do it minimal to be compliant without spending a fortune, but so that you've got everything in place that you need to have in place to be a fully compliant business. And we show you how to do that very cost effectively. So you put your business in place, and then the next thing is you want to market. So that's writing to the landlords and calling the agents and going on viewings. And that's basically the small part, but obviously it's more complex in the detail, and that's where you might need assistance. I mean, not necessarily us, although obviously we'd love to work with you, but it could be somebody else who's done it, or you could find out trial and error, you know, but that's the hard way. So what was it like, my next question, because this is something people worry about, what was it like setting up your business? Talk to me about that.
To be quite honest, it was, I didn't understand and I didn't realize everything that you needed, first and foremost, to be legally compliant, which is very important to me, to make sure that everything is the way it should be. But actually setting the business up itself, I got an accountant to do the actual setting of the business up, who I went through with. So that costs more than your average setting it up, but that's for my peace of mind. You don't have to do it that way. That's just the way that I chose to do it. And all the insurances and everything, it's a doddle, realistically. I mean, what does it take? It takes a couple of hours, really. It doesn't take that long at all. It's a few forms to fill in and stuff like that. But like I say, you need your business set up. Like you said there, you need your company, unless you're going to do it as a sole trader, and you need to make sure that you're compliant and follow the compliances. But overall, setting up, I think the longest thing is the bank account, just waiting for that to open up.
And I encourage people to go and have a look at Mark's branding, because you've done all that part of it, but you've also got a fantastic brand for it, MRF Properties. And what's your website, Mark?
The website's not actually up and running at the moment. I'm running without it.
Okay, I just thought it was. I imagined I've seen it. Okay, well,
no, it was up. I've taken it down because it needed a bit of. It wasn't good enough for me, so I'm getting that worked on.
Okay, so it just goes to show that it is longer term great to have a website, but you don't necessarily need everything in place at the beginning. But you'll see if you look at MRF properties, Mark's on Facebook, the branding looks amazing, and yeah, and it was, well, I don't know if that part was simple to do, but you certainly didn't take long over it.
No, well, I mean, the name's not exactly original or anything. It's only my initials and stuff like that. But that is my legacy, because my little dream is that when my kids, if they have kids, one day they turn around and say, why is it called that? And they say, well, that's your granddad who started it all off.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to start thinking about trusts, Mark.
Yeah.
Ron, because that's how you can pass it multi-generational, not just one generation and then they lose it if it's in trust. That's what we're looking at anyway.
Yeah, I've looked at that.
But I don't know a huge amount about it yet. But that's where we're looking. So how did you manage? Now, this is a question from Ingrid, who's also one of our Kickstarters. How did you manage the balance of setting up your rent-to-rent business alongside your other commitments?
Basically, I stopped watching telly or doing anything at night apart from focusing on my business. So I'd go to work, finish work at 5 o'clock. I'd come home. I'd then make sure that I had tea, spent an hour with the kids. Then we put those to bed. And then it was basically from anything from 8 o'clock till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, focusing on my business. And that was basically it. So the weekends as well, I'd have at least a half a day, 3/4 of a day on a Saturday. I tried to leave Sundays where I could free for the family, because you do have to have a balance. And at the end of the day, if you don't show your wife or your kids any attention, then you're going to get it in the neck. And I don't need to get it in the neck from every angle. And like I said, they've been very supportive of me. I'm only messing about.
Yeah.
So yeah, really, you've got to make a sacrifice. So when everybody sat there watching all the TV programs and everything like that, I mean, I used to sit there and watch them all the different ones every night, and that's what we did. I can't remember the last time I actually sat and watched a TV series now, because but I enjoy it. See, the thing is with this, it's not a chore to me. So when I go to work, that was a chore, because as much as I did enjoy my job and everything like that, it's not as fulfilling as your own business. And this is just it. And if you don't find it a chore and it's more like a hobby, then it's more enjoyable. So I was still there. I mean, I've got a little office just off of the front room in my house. Don't get me wrong, it's nothing. It's only a table in the corner, but you got to start somewhere. But at the end of the day, I'm still in the same room as my wife and everybody like that. So you can still talk to me of things, but you can still do things on a computer and get your marketing letters sorted and all your branding and everything like that. So the only person stopping you is you, realistically. It's good to have supportive people around you, but yeah, you've just got to make sacrifices. Yeah,
absolutely. But I think you just get tied into making the other sacrifice, and you don't realize it's a sacrifice. Like when you're working your 9 to 5, some people like their job and that's fine for them. But if you don't like your job and you feel trapped in it and you want more freedom in your life and you want all these other things, then you are sacrificing your dreams just by continuing that and not taking a chance to do whatever it is that you want to do. And as you said, sometimes our life is very work focused. But and not even so much on the property business, because we've outsourced a lot of that now. In fact, I'm very little involved in like the day-to-day on the actual property management side of it. It's on now more on this side, and some of the other things that we're beginning to do is that I spend my time. But sometimes I work 7 days a week. I haven't got little kids anymore. My son is huge. But yeah, I enjoy it. It's excitement. It's drama. It's intrigue. You get that satisfaction from seeing what you produce, you know, and knowing that although you put in all the work in up front, you know, next year or the year after, people are going to be saying, oh, it was so easy for them because of this, that, and the other, but they can't see all of the work that you did, you know, right now. So now, Mark, I want to move on to the other thing that people talk about is just how to get the deal. So let's talk about the letters, the landlord letters and the landlords. So take us through what your experience has been with them.
Well, the letters, is I think one of the, if not the best way to do rent to rent. Obviously, people will argue the point and say no letting agents and everything like that. I've not really, for myself, all my deals are straight to landlord. I have spoke to letting agents and everything like that, and I would say do that, because obviously they are a source of products as well. But all of mine have been through the letters, and it's just really being persistent. You've got to be persistent, and you've got to just get yourself out there. So letters has been the main thing for me, and I set up a separate phone so that when that went, I knew it was landlords. So when, obviously, when the first actual landlord ever rang me up, it was like, whoa, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Where's my script? Where's my paper? And it's just like, just go for it and see what happens. And I will be quite honest with you, it was a complete and utter car crash. It was terrible. I came off that phone and I thought to myself, my God, I'm never going to get anywhere if I talk to everybody like that. So I sat down, I gave myself 10 minutes, and I wrote everything down. And the conversation that I just had, I wrote everything out. So I was like, right, don't do that again. Don't do that again. Right, we can emphasize on that and learn, which you'll probably realize now, shut up at times and listen.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. So landlord letters, excellent, absolutely excellent. The best source you can do, work on your letters, make sure your letters stand out from the crowd.
Brilliant, brilliant. And I just want to say there's also, we do a checklist within the course of what to say to the landlords, because at the beginning I was just making it up every time, you know, what to say, and then eventually I wrote down a list, and now we go quite into detail, but that's only because I think that's only for experience, but I give you everything, so you can either do it high level, just the top line, or you can delve deeper depending on how you feel. If your heart's racing out of your chest, sometimes you can't go deep.
It's funny because on different days, different things happen. Some days you answer the phone and everything's fine. Another day it must just be your head or something. You're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? But yeah, I have the sheets in front of me, and I don't always use them word for word or checklist for checklist or anything, but I just scribble down on them and make sure that, you know, I mean, I ask the relevant questions, because there's certain questions that you want to make sure that you do ask when you've got them on the phone. And obviously it's a chance for you to sell yourself to a point, but then you obviously want to get to the viewing and go and speak to the landlords themselves, and then face to face is where the magic happens.
Yeah. And Mark, what would you say? You just said that some of the questions are really important to ask while you're there on the phone. What would you say is something that's really important to ask while you're there on the phone?
Well, obviously, it's worth mentioning or finding out what the property is all about, the tenant types, how many tenants have they got, is there any voids, are they having trouble with voids or problem tenant not paying? So I tend to delve into the tenancy a bit. Obviously, they're more interested in finding out exactly what you can offer. So trying to get the questions and answers out of them, it can be quite difficult, but I like to try and get an email address as well. That's important so that you can keep contact with them. Getting their details obviously is good as well. I know you get caller ID and everything like that, but just refreshing and ask, you know, their names, making sure that you get a name. I mean, that's one of the beauties. But yeah, tenant types, what the property's all about. So is it a terrace detached, how many rooms it's got, what it's got bathroom wise. So it's really just a list of making sure that everything's there. If there's any other any other issues that they've got with it realistically, because I mean, they're ringing you for a reason is the thing that I've learned. And I do try on the first call is to get an idea of what that reason is, so that when at least I can look at that property, I can see if I can solve that problem or the reason why they've rang me.
Yeah, perfect, Mark, absolutely. People call for a reason, and when we can delve down into that, and when we know that we can fix that problem, then you know you can make it profitable. Because that's a question I get all the time: how do I know that this is going to be profitable? If they can't rent it out, why can you?
Yeah.
Obviously part of that is experience, which you haven't got at the beginning, but knowing the problem, it puts you some of the way forward to knowing, and also it puts you a lot of the way forward in knowing how to sort of sell your solution, to say, well, this is what I can do for you, and obviously you address the problem first. So that's brilliant with the landlords and letters. We find similar. And you've also had a spate where you were doing quite a bit with agents, so talk to us about that.
Well, really, it was just going in around the Sheffield area and everything like that. I just spoke to a lot of agents. Now, a lot of them don't really want to know. When you start on about, you know, how you can be like the lead tenant, I always went in with the sort of thing that I'd be the lead tenant, but obviously I'll put tenants in and stuff like that. But we can solve two problems. So obviously you'll get your fee. your monthly fee for it, and I'll obviously look after the property for you. And initially, I don't know, there's something funny about estate agents and letting agents, the shop window and everything. When you get outside that shop window and you look in and you just see it's dead, there's nobody there. So, you know, when you go in, there's like 3 or 4 people sat around and you're thinking to yourself, everybody's going to be listening to my conversation, and everybody's going to be thinking, oh, who does he think he is, and all of this and all of that, or, oh no, there's another one, or something like that.
Yeah.
But really, once I did it, and I did it a couple of times, you actually find that when you're talking, I find when I was talking to them that I knew more about a lot of the situations and a lot of the tenancies and everything like that than they did, especially when it comes to the structures of the deals and things. And there was a few that were quite interested and gave me the time of day, and there were some other ones that just said, oh no, we don't issue or we don't do anything like that. But I mean, the secret really I've found is don't go into the high street brands. Go into more of the sort of private, like smaller agencies. And they're quite interested. I mean, I did have one of them that said to me, we haven't got anything at the moment, but we like you. We wouldn't mind talking more. So if we get the opportunity, we'll give you a bell. So every now and again, I ring them up and check in with them. But at the moment, I've only been really focusing on the letters because they've been working so well.
Brilliant. And that is a golden nugget for you watching at home. If you're just starting out and you're worried that no agents are going to take you on, that's exactly the thing. What that guy said to Mark is, we like you, so we want to work with you. They're not looking at experience or this or that. They're looking at trust. Trust is no like and trust. And that's what I try to, explain really in the course. And the agent script that we've got is very simple but very effective, and I think people are delighted and surprised how easy it is. And it's just nice to have a roadmap from the beginning, so you haven't got to try out all these wild things beforehand to get results. That's brilliant, Mark. I just want to ask you, so this is an interesting one. So Matt Peedle said, how long did it take you to get your first deal? And I know there's sort of 2 answers, isn't there, really?
Yeah. To get it over the line, it's taken a couple of months, but that's been to and fro with contracts and everything like that. Obviously, a bit of my inexperience there and everything like that is I should have really sat down with the landlords from the word go and sort of drawn up a heads of terms and done it all like that. So it was a bit of to and fro in, but the guys that I've got my first deal with as a partnership, there's 2 landlords there, are very savvy investors, and luckily they've got a bit of patience as well, and they're quite happy to work with me. So it took me, when did I start properly? We started February, didn't we?
The 1st of February, at the beginning of February, and obviously you had to set up your business, so you weren't sort of going out there straight away.
I think it was the end of March. We actually agreed to do this, and then it's been from March and up until a couple of weeks ago that it's just taken us that long to get the contracts right. So that both parties are very happy with what they've got, and it's a good contract actually. I'm very impressed with it.
Brilliant. I'm just so delighted. So that's another takeaway, guys, that within the 8 weeks, you'll definitely have set up your business and you'll be talking to landlords and agents. And then it's just a case of when the right deal comes along, you are ready to pounce. You're there ready. And then there's the contracts bit, which can sometimes take a while. Sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's not. It all depends.
The other thing is, though, that I have actually got more deals. So I've only got that one over the line at the moment, but in that time, I've got another 3 deals. In the pipeline, so which I'm working on at the moment. So
tell us about those, Mark. I know one is with the same landlord.
One is with the same landlord. So the landlords that I'm working with, they've got one together, and then one's got one on his own. And then there's 2 more in Sheffield. One is a 20-bed HMO, and the other one is a 14-bed HMO.
Wow.
So at the moment, they're in the stages of refurbishment. Which the landlord's doing. The landlord's refurbishing them and everything like that. So once that's done, I basically fingers crossed and everything. So far so good. Everything's looking good. That we'll be taking those on and get them fully tenanted for.
Brilliant. I love that. It's such an incredible story. And also, newsflash to people watching who are also beginners: all of these landlords know that Mark is obviously just starting up, but you can see by talking to Mark that you would trust him with your house more so than a letting agent who's not as interested, or maybe has got 100 properties, other ones, and they're not really going to be on the ball with yours. Mark is going to be 100% on the properties that he's looking after. And that is what the landlords want, especially the experienced landlords who are very savvy, because they know with the letting agents, or they've had experience in the past often with the letting agents, that they don't get what they thought they were going to get after the voids and the bills and the maintenance fee and the tenancy fine fee and this fee and that fee and the next fee. They don't always get what they thought they were going to get. So they're delighted to be working with someone like Mark who's delivering guaranteed rent. So Mark, what was that feeling like when you got your first deal?
It was good. It was good. Like I say, it's been on all over the place. You know what I mean? But it's excellent. I feel like I've got a business now. Yeah. So everything's been set up. Everything's compliant. Everything's in the background. But now, you know, signing that contract and everything like that was a good yes. You know, we've done it. We've got the first one over, and I'll tell you what, the first one's surely got to be the hardest. yeah, absolutely. Because before the first one, you don't know you can do it, and then that's it. Yeah.
So Fergal has asked a couple of questions which we're going to come on to now, which is there a certain checklist he looks for with properties?
Yes. Well, you need to make sure that there's a market for the property there. So you need to make sure that there's tenants that are looking for properties and stuff like that. But I mean, everybody talks about oversaturation and things like that. And you delve deep. There's a lot of HMOs everywhere, really. But it's about putting out the right product. I'm very confident with the way that I'm doing things, that I will be able to tenant my properties with the best tenants I can find, because there's a few methods and everything like that I'm trying out, which are a bit new to myself and things. But also, you know, it's just a case of looking at the area. Making sure that, like I say, that there is demand in the area. And also, I do look at the properties, and I have seen a few properties that were just, I'd have to spend an absolute fortune on them. Now, some people will do that. I will spend up to about, I don't know, 6 months rent, do you know what I mean, so to speak, so that in 6 months I get paid back. Anything over that, it's too much of a risk for me at this stage, this early stage. Now, I know yourselves and everything like that, you take on big projects and things, but you've been into it nearly 3 years now, haven't you? So I will look to do things like that, but I do look at the property as well, make sure that I can, you know, if I've got to give it a quick refresh, that's not a problem. You know what I mean? Bit of paint here, maybe a bit of furniture and stuff like that. So there are certain criteria I do look at, and obviously your areas. Know your areas, know your good areas, your not so good areas, and then look for your tenant types as well, because everybody has their own different tenant types that they want to market to. So make sure that the tenant type you want to market to is in the area that you want to put them in their property, because if you get a property in the wrong area, you're never going to get the tenants that you're actually hoping for. So you could fall a bit short.
The other golden nugget I want to say in answer to that is look how quickly you can become expert in this field, because Mark started in February, and we're now, you know, towards the end of May. And already he's become very experienced because he's been focusing on this every single day. If you think about it, Nicky and I are only coming up to 3 years, and we've had a lot of experience and grown, you know, a sizable business. So if you start now, you can go far quite quickly. And I hope that's inspiration if you're watching, just thinking about starting off. Thanks for that answer, Mark. It was so in-depth that made me think of that. Next thing I want to, next comment of Fergal's is, are you able to determine how much profit is to be made just by looking at a property online? That's an interesting question. So do you want to give your take on that, Mark?
Yeah, you can get an idea. You can get an idea. Until you set foot in that property, I would say no, because you don't know what the angle the picture's been taken at, and you don't know what's behind whoever's taking the picture and stuff like that. If there's a hole in the roof, you know, behind where they're stood, but everything else looks lovely, then, you know, you can give them a price, and then you could be in a bit of trouble. So what I would say is you can give a quote over pictures if you really have to, but you've got to tell them it's a ballpark. You know, you could pluck a number out the sky and say, I can offer you that. But until you step foot and have a look at the property, a bit like a viewing, you wouldn't buy a house without going in to the house and looking at the house, because you're spending a lot of money and you're putting a lot of time and effort into that project. And if you do, I think you're crazy. So yes, you can give yourself a ballpark figure, but you can't be precise until you've actually been in there, you've taken a look for yourself, and you've made yourself some notes and things. And I never give a quote or anything out beforehand or during the viewing. I always say to them, give me 24 hours and I will get you a quote over to you. I say, all I've got to do is just go back to the office and punch them numbers. But yeah, you can do it, but it won't be true.
Exactly. So absolutely spot on again, Mark. We use Fergal, our deal analyzer. It's a spreadsheet deal analyzer. And that one gives you really detailed numbers. And we ask you to put in a lot of additional numbers for protection, so that you really, really know if something went badly wrong, you're still going to be profitable. So you can get the deal analyzer free from renttorentsuccess.com, because we decided to give it away because we could easily sell that. We've been giving it away free because we didn't like the way people were being ripped off left, right, and centre by these, so-called sources. But I know that not every source is bad. But so many bad deals that I'm skeptical. So, okay. So the future for you, Mark, you've got 4 deals right now that you're just in the process of signing. Some of them you've signed, some of them you're in the process of signing. Yeah.
So the future, well, my main plan was to try and get, I don't know, initially, I must admit, when I first signed up, I thought if I can get 3 deals, I'll be happy. Then when we signed up and we started the business, it changes all the time. It was 5. I wanted to get 5 deals this year. Now I've set my target to 10. So I want to get 10 deals by February next year. If I don't do it, I don't do it, but I'm pretty sure I'll get quite close to that.
Well, to be honest, you'll have to do it by units, because some of yours are like more than 1 unit. Like 23 units is like, that's like 4, 5 or 6 beds, isn't it?
Yeah. So, I mean, in theory, that pretty much puts me on par with about 7 or something like that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, but I didn't really look at it like that.
Well,
it's one big unit to me.
5 is an average. 5 units is an average HMO where we are. So, I would, class it on the units then if you're going to be going for the big boys like 23. Yeah,
but it's also about systemizing it as well. I want to build it up enough so that I can systemize it, and I can have the computer side of it looked after, and then obviously when it comes to the letting side of it as well, I might be able to bring on somebody part-time to help me out with that as well. So I am looking at not just taking all the money out and going on a holiday and saying, woohoo, look what I've done. For me, it is about a business, and it's about a business that over the next 3 years, I want to get it into a stage where I can step back from it and it will run exactly how I foresee it to be ran. Then at the end of the day, if my kids ever want to take over, they can do. If they don't, it will still be a sustainable business that has employees in it. So for me, it's a bigger picture than just doing it all on my own.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And going back to the coaching, I hope this isn't too hard of a question, but what did you find most useful about it?
To be honest with you, you and Nicky. Completely and utterly, because you do put everything into it. You're very generous with you're more generous than I actually thought you would be. Do you know what I mean? On a training thing, I don't know anybody that gives as much time and effort as the both of you. You're active on the Facebook page a couple of times a day, easily, and it's that holding hands experience, so to speak, that if I ever had an issue, I could turn to you girls, and you were there for me. And you still are there for me as well. And that is priceless for me. The charge that you put on the training and everything like that is nothing in comparison to what you've actually given back to me. And I know I've thanked you. I always thank you all the time, but I do thank you from the bottom of my heart, because what you've offered and what you've given us, and the other guys in the group will say the same as well. And as you know yourself, there's a good few other guys there that are very close to clinching their first deals.
Yeah, they are.
That is all down to the training and everything that you girls set up and put us through. And one of the beauties I loved as well was the feedback thing, which I always tried to give my feedback after each module. And even on one of the modules, I believe, I thought I was being a little bit critical, but I just thought, I'll tell you so that you know. But within a few days, you tweaked the module and you'd added what I actually thought was missing. And it was like a light bulb moment. It was like, brilliant. How many people are going to do that? That was absolutely excellent. So you're open to, you know, it was great. Absolutely brilliant. Like I said, I'm sat here now with what I've got because of you guys.
Oh, that's so lovely. I do feel emotional just listening to you, because one of the great things about it is that you get to see other people transform. You know, we've had a transformation that's really obviously changed our lives, and part of the great thing about that is we get to share that with other people. I'm sure you will do the same, Mark, because you're such an inspirational guy. You've got such a great way of talking and so on. I'm sure people are finding you compelling viewing. So it's just fantastic for us. But you know what I always say is, Mark, it takes the two together.
Yeah.
We're providing the system of the step-by-step with all the bits of paper that you need and everything there for you to copy, paste, and, you know, edit, tweak it to yourself and make it your own. But then on your side, you've got to pick that up and do it, keep your mind in focus, pick yourself back up, do it, pick yourself back up and do it. And that is the, and also keep tweaking your mindset. So that you can do the difficult things or do the things you don't want to do, and that's where it's the other side, and that's all come from you. And I'm so proud of you, and delighted for you, and excited to have you in the group. And I should just say that for anybody who does come on the Kickstarter, you do get the option to carry on in the group, and Mark has carried on in the group. And for example, tonight we have a call. A live call with everyone who stayed on in the group, and tonight's topic is going to be, with you and Simon in mind, it's going to be how to deal with tenants who you take on in place. So you're not starting it and doing everything yourself. You're taking it on place because it's quite a different system. Yeah. And that is not in the course. So that's what we're going to do tonight. So we're going to begin taking you all through who've been through the first time, all the things that you need once you're now in your position with the properties going forward. So exciting times.
Excellent.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything you finally want to say? Actually, let me ask you what advice you'd give to somebody who is just thinking about, you know, there's a lot of people who want to get into this.
Well, take action. Be persistent, I would definitely say, and also set yourself goals. Do set goals, because that's very important. I set weekly goals and daily goals now, and I make sure that I get those goals done out of the way as soon as possible, and as early as you can. So yeah, and plan for the future. If you want the future to be bright and you want to have your own business, or you want to be financially free and you're just happy with a few, then plan it. Draw yourself a map. And follow that map, and that's really why I did the training and everything like that, was basically to be given that map that I could follow. And as long as, like I say, as long as I follow the process and the other guys are doing the same and they're getting the same results as well, you'll get there. And then once you've got there, you can write your own map and you can look at what you want to do. So we've got I've never had a vision board or anything like that. We've got a vision board at home now, and everybody, myself, my wife, my kids, we've all put stuff on the vision board. And that's one of our goals. So when we hit certain targets, we have this other silly little countery thing, which the kids love because they colour it in. So I got my first deal, it gets coloured in and it goes up, and it's like for money and stuff. So when it hits a certain thing, we can treat ourselves to that holiday or to that, and it works and it drives you. And it's in my office, and I look at it every day, and I think I'm not going to let them down.
That is so good. I love that. And what I love as well is people often think that when you go into business, you lose your family, but actually being in this kind of business, it can involve your whole family. It's lovely. And I love that you did the goals, because something that I remember from me and Nicky, we sat in Nicky's house when she was still in Kent, and we did this plan. We looked back at it. It's a handwritten thing. I'll maybe be able to show it you on the call later. And it says, when we get so many houses, we'll pay ourselves this much. And when we get so many houses, we'll pay. And then we've got one little thing. We're not really big designer people or anything like that. But there is one little thing, an Hermes bracelet, which we always felt like too much to spend on, like one little frivolous item. And we said, that we would buy one when we got to a certain point. And we haven't bought it yet, but we are going to go to London and go and get that. It's just a little symbol rather than.
It's all about. That's what you're doing it for. At the end of the day, you've got to reward yourself. Otherwise, you will get to a point where you just think, oh, hang on a minute. No matter where you get to, why am I doing this? You've got to have little treats and little perks and everything like that. And it's like you said to me, you've got to celebrate. When you do something, celebrate it. Well, you've opened your business, celebrate it. You don't go out and have a mad party but just go out and have a meal or just have a nice bottle of something or something. Just celebrate the little wins.
Yeah.
And I struggle with that. I do struggle with that because I just, for me, it's not a win until I hit the target. But now I have lots of little goals. I can celebrate each and every little goal as they're coming along and enjoy it as well, because we all look at the big picture at the end. But I want to enjoy this now. As I'm going and everything like that. I mean, I even said in a post the other day that I actually envy, some of the new guys because it was all exciting and I was there, and I know what it's like when you're starting out and you're starting up your business and you're trying to think of your business name and everything like that. And it's excellent and it's really exciting, really good fun. But enjoy it as it goes. Don't try and rush it.
You've been so generous with the new people coming into the group. Both as
I think they're brilliant.
Answering their questions, so I really appreciated that. But look, Mark, I just want to thank you so much for coming on and talking about what you've done. It's been amazing to talk to you. And is there anything you want to share with people before we close it off?
No, I think I have. Realistically, I'd say thank you, brilliant. Thank you to you and Nicky, and also just to everybody else. If you want to do it. Believe in yourself and do it, and don't let anybody else tell you any different.
Brilliant. All right. Well, thanks a million, Mark.
No worries.
See you soon. Bye for now.
Take care. Cheers.
Bye. Bye.